morning. I'm back somewhere I've been a few times. This is Broadclough, and up here is the quarry where the Dogstone is. I'm back here because I've got a bit of additional information that led me to do a bit more research, and I found out a couple of new things from that research as well. So I thought I'd come back and I'd have a wander around. There's a couple of places I want to locate and visit. Other than that, I'm just going to make it up as I go along. It's whatever I want to do today. There's no fixed route or anything. There's just a variety of different possibilities and options as to where we can go. For those of you that have seen some of my previous videos here, on the oldest maps there is a shooting cabin shown as being in Broadclough, and it's not featured on subsequent maps. And I have been in there and I've extensively looked, on at least 2 occasions I've extensively looked for that shooting cabin for any remains whatsoever, and I found a couple of possibilities but nothing that really convinced me, and there's really no obvious evidence of a shooting cabin in that clough. Well, one thing that I read that was quite interesting, quite relevant, was in one of the surveys they said that this had been surveyed quite extensively trying to find any trace of that ruin, and they couldn't find any trace of the ruin either. So I'm back here, a spot I've visited a few times, a really amazing spot actually. So I've reread the Archeological Survey. I read it properly this time before I just skimmed it. Apparently on the very oldest OS maps, I think from the 1840s, maps which I've not been able to see myself, this is marked as a refectory. Although that's probably just a guess based on the fact that there's a sink. But the theory is that this would have been a stonemason's hut which was converted into a shooting cabin, and then the shooting cabin was destroyed, and then apparently this bit here, they believe this was this is some kind of grouse butt which has been constructed from the ruins of the shooting cabin. The survey of the area mentions a number of rock shelters, and that got me really excited when I first came here, that there might be rock shelters. But reading the article again, reading the survey again, what they mean by a shelter is just a kind of a lean-to. Just there's a pile of rubble, smaller stones, which indicates that that might be what's left of a building, but there's no structure or shape or anything left, just a pile of rocks. But they're clearly a lot smaller than the surrounding rocks. So I want to give another shout out to Paul for telling me about this spot which he found when he was exploring this area. It's clearly the site of some kind of structure. It's a bit of a mystery as to what this is. This could be what is marked on one of the old maps as a shooting cabin, although I don't think it's in quite the right place. The Archeological Survey also talks about a structure here. Again, it's not quite, I mean, that's a hand-drawn map, so it's very, it's very approximate anyway. It's not quite where I would put it on a hand-drawn map, but it's pretty close, so I am guessing that this is it. Now, if this is the same structure that's mentioned in the survey, and I can't imagine there being too many other possibilities, then this is the same structure that on the old OS maps was labelled as being a smithy. Although the survey does kind of question whether that's true or would have been true. But anyway, thanks again to Paul for giving me this information. Paul, if you left your gloves here, they're still here, mate. They're nice and safe. From now on, really, there's no route or objective to this walk. We're just going to make it up now as we go along. So we definitely got something here. We've got an old winch by the looks of it. Now that is interesting, because I guarantee that's nowhere near as old as most of the quarry works around here. So here's something else, some old pipe. Again, probably similar age to the winch, but a lot newer than some of the features around here. And there's another piece of piping in here as well. I wonder if there's a cavern or a cavity here. And then look at this. So that's the millstone with the winch just there. Can't really see it. And that's the cross. It is lunchtime, but I just can't stop exploring. I've just noticed on here, looks very much like an H. And over here, looks very much like an E. Again, that looks very deliberate. Doesn't look natural. Now this is a good example of what the survey referred to as shelters. just kind of leaning rocks, creating a little bit of shelter from the elements. And that's actually a pretty decent size, that one. I've spent over an hour searching a really small area. And I've just realised quite how small it is, but I've come back here to the beautiful Millstone and Winch, and I think this is a fantastic lunch spot, so I'm going to have lunch here. I just had a really nice lunch. The sun came out and it got really warm. I was nice and sheltered. It was a lovely spot on that millstone. I literally sat on the millstone to have my lunch. But now it looks like the weather's on the turn again. May have some more rain. So it's a good job I didn't really have much of a route planned or anything like that for today, because I'm just going to take the opportunity to explore as much of this old quarry as I can, because it's fascinating. I suspected it would be. I suspected there was a lot more to find. I mean, even something like this, look at this, look at the grooves on this. That's clearly very intentional. This is the other side of the rock. I've been staring at rocks for too long today, but to me that definitely looks like something there. Definitely something there, and there, and there. And then you've got those which potentially could be natural, but this doesn't look natural. And this bit almost looks like a hangman. See the head and the legs and the arms, and then this is the scaffold. Yeah, I may have just been staring at rocks for too long. So right now what I'm kind of doing is more or less, very approximately, working my way down towards the dog stone to see if I can locate it again. But I'm also taking a good look around at anything interesting, so it's taking a while for me to make any progress. But you know, I've said it before, I doubt very much if the dog stone is a unique feature. I think there's probably other carved rocks in this area. There are so many rocks around, it would be pretty much impossible to check every single rock. And I would be very surprised if every single rock has been surveyed. That is very deliberate. This may be something right here. It's kind of a natural, semi-natural platform surrounded by these big boulders. But this is This is of interest because this is not a natural feature. This has been put there. This is like the bottom of a dry stone wall. This is really interesting because you can see where the stonemason has put those rocks underneath to lift the millstone off the ground to work on it. No one's touched that since the stonemason who was making it. Look at it all. So I've decided I'm not going to go over there, not today. I'm going to draw a line here and not go over here. Again, I think I've been staring at rocks for too long, but to me it looks like there's almost carved letters there. Okay, to me this looks like a proper rock shelter, although quite an old one and one that's partially collapsed. And it all, again, almost looks like there's letters carved into the rock, but I don't think they are. I think it's just an optical illusion. But that, for example, looks like a chisel mark. Everything over here I am not looking at today. I'm saving that. I will come back and explore that area. Today I'm trying to limit myself to this area here. Even this area here, there's no way that I'm going to be able to check out every single rock. This looks like something. This looks like a constructed wall. Not much else around, but it is a fairly level platform. And that's where we are in relation to that mysterious corridor. Just spotted this. It's clearly constructed, but it is very small. It's more likely a grouse butt, a stone grouse butt, than anything else. You know what, looking at it, I suspect someone has been here and done something. Maybe used chalk or something to make it clearer. Apparently there's a geocache box here somewhere. I didn't know that first time I came. There's lots of possible nooks and crannies for it. Oh, found it. So that water bottle wasn't a geocache. It had 2 laminated photographs in there, and on the back of the photos it said in memory of blah blah blah. So I've not filmed that, I've put it back. other people, no doubt trying to find the dogstone. What I would say is you need to be extremely careful. It's so dangerous, so easy to twist your ankle or worse. So many small cavities, some of them quite deep, some of them covered up. I would recommend bringing trekking poles and literally checking every bit of ground before you put your foot down. I've decided to go over this stile and head off towards this mysterious corridor, which I'm guessing used to be the entrance into the quarry, but that's just a guess. So I've never actually been over here before. The dry stone wall is a lot more defined over there, but now I'm up close and side onto it, you can see the remnants of the dry stone wall up to that point there. This is pretty cool. We've got a spring somewhere. And there's quite a bit of water coming, and quite a strong flow. There's no spring marked on the map, but you can see just above, no flowing water. And then coming out from underneath these rocks, you've got that. So look at this one here. You've got like pick marks. You've got this. It's like a practice rock. Well, I may need to revise my theory that that corridor was the entranceway into the quarry, because this whole bottom section is just completely boggy. Really marshy, really boggy, really difficult walking. I've come all the way over to this fence line to try and get through it more easily, but as you can see, it's on the other side of the fence line as well. I can't see them getting millstones and other huge rocks from that quarry and getting it through that marsh. I pretty much just followed that wall, which was fairly easy going until I got to that point there where there's barbed wire and you can't go any further, and you had to come down, cross over the brook, which wasn't too bad, but then getting from that point to where I am now did involve going through a couple of marshy bits. However, now I am back on the path. The loop is complete.